So I've worked some pretty shitty jobs throughout my time and my employment history. But one of the craziest jobs I ever had was working for this catering company. And this was between my sophomore and junior year of college. Like, this was my summer job and everything. And I just saw some of the craziest shit working there. Like, I'm talking Russian weddings, cowboy weddings, people jumping in ponds. Bro, it was OD. I was exposed to way too much and I had no idea what I was really signing up for this summer. But it left me with some cool stories that I thought I would share with you guys. So this was my college job that I worked over my sophomore and junior year, and they only really hired college kids. There was about 3 or 4 colleges in the city, I want to say. So they really only pulled from that group. So it was just a bunch of bozo idiots working this job. Like, we're just a bunch of kids loading trucks, driving food around, serving rich people type shit. And I remember this one time coming into work one day, and it was one of the bigger weddings on the schedule and everything. I remember it was like all hands on deck. Like, they called it a blackout day. Everybody had to show up. It was about 500 guests at this wedding, and it was a big Russian wedding. And it got crazy pretty quickly. I remember seeing all the guests coming in and everything, and there was not like the typical crowd of people. These guys kind of gave like Russian mafia type vibes. Like, I'm talking scars on the face. Some people didn't even speak English, pulling up in cars with blacked out windows and super thick Russian accents and everything. And I remember while I was like tray passing, we did like hors d'oeuvres and champagne and everything. One of like the big mafia boss guys is how I remember it in my head and everything. I think he was the bride's dad. He was kind of head honcho in charge of everything. And he was kind of like,
"Where can I put my extra liquor?"
I was like, "Sir, what do you mean extra liquor? Like, we got all this here." He's like, no, extra liquor. And he's got like this little like duffel bag and a backpack on. And he like unzips it slowly and shows me. And it's just full of vodka. Like, I'm talking filled to the brim with shooters and handles. And Buddy came prepared. They came to party for sure. I was kind of a little shocked at first because I was like, oh, he's definitely not supposed to have that. But I'm no snitch. This guy strikes me as somebody that I didn't really want to mess with too much. So I just kind of like looked at him and froze up a little bit. And I think he kind of knew that he wasn't supposed to be doing this. Hence why he asked like the low level busboy what he should do with it. And I was just kind of like, I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. And we kind of I didn't say any words. I just kind of looked at him and he looked at me. And it was like everything needed to be said through our eye contact. So he just kind of like put it down behind some table somewhere, and he kept it hidden and whatnot. And I was just like, oh my God, if these people start tapping into that, we're so cooked. It's going to be a huge group, and we're understaffed, we're undermanned. And I'd been there for a couple months. Like, this was a little bit later in the summer and everything. I know what it's like when we start getting into the late hours of the night and people have been drinking for a while and how rowdy and crazy it can get. But this was going to be a whole other level with the amount of alcohol that this guy was packing. Everything kind of starts off pretty normal and whatnot. And, they start playing these weird games and everyone's speaking Russian. And I had no fucking clue what was going on, man. I was just like, I just got to get through this shift, pretend I didn't see what I saw, and just pray to God that everything like goes smoothly and whatnot. They started playing this like weird bingo game. So they're doing their games and everything's kind of going normal, and service happens. Everything's still pretty normal, but then the sun starts to go down. And I start to notice like a lot of people keep going up to bro with the scar over by the backpack and whatnot. And all these little shooter bottles are appearing everywhere. And that's when the boss lady, who was like the manager of all of us college bozos, she started being like, where is this stuff coming from? And so she got curious and went up to head honcho and everything. And I was like, good luck with dealing with that guy. He's a scary ass motherfucker. And I just remember me and bro like standing there watching her like get all up in this guy's face like she was some hot shit or whatever. And I'm not really sure what was said, but she came back mad defeated. And that's when the night really started to take a turn after that. So they had been inside this whole time, like playing their drinking games or wedding games or whatever exactly was going on. And they went outside, and that's when things really started to pick up. Like they had this crazy DJ. It was like all Russian, just like house music. It was kind of fire, actually. It was some good music from what I remember. And they started partying hard, man. Like getting in big circles and like doing like group dances and screaming in Russian and whatnot. And that's when some guys decided they were going to take a swim. So we had this little pond, right? And it was over kind of like to the left hand side of like where the dance floor courtyard area is outside. And these couple of guys decided that they were going to jump in the water and look for some fish, I guess. Because all I remember happening is I was like walking outside to like go pick up some dirty glasses and clear some tables out and whatnot. And I just hear this splash. And I look over and there's three dudes like fully clothed swimming in the pond, just like flapping around, doing whatever. And one guy comes on up with a fucking catfish in his hand. And he starts screaming something in Russian and whatnot. And he's like, I'm guessing he's like, I caught one or something. But this is when a boss lady she was fed up. She was real done with this. She like went over to the guys with like some backup from the chefs who were some big burly dudes who were a little bit scary and whatnot. And they went over and they started like yelling at each other, but these dudes didn't speak a lick of English, I don't think. And they just kind of looked at her with like blank faces. And I just remember me and bro standing there again, just like giggling and laughing at how crazy this situation is. And bro and I could overhear a little bit from where we were standing. She was like threatening to call the police and saying it was trespassing, the pond off limits, and yada yada yada, corporate speak, something or other. But it ended up getting handled. I'm pretty sure Scarface Man gave her some cash and called a Uber and promised to keep it chill for the rest of the night. And that was kind of it for the festivities. It wrapped up in another hour or so, and everybody went on their way, and we finished up for the night. But that day was honestly one of the better days that I'd worked there, where there was some good entertainment. Because the thing is that this job was actually brutal. Like, they had us doing some hard labor. Like, every shift was 1 p.m. to 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. sometimes, depending on how long it really took us to get everything done. And it was not great pay, I'll say that. Half the time I'm dealing with people like, I mean, it's their wedding day, and I get like everything needs to be perfect and people plan this for months and everything. But when you're constantly hearing people stressed out about napkins being the wrong way, being folded the wrong way, or tablecloths being a slightly different color and whatnot, it kind of drives you crazy how much people get hung up on these little things that don't really matter that much, honestly. But I think why this wedding story really hits with me is not because they jumped in the pond or brought their own alcohol or anything. It's just how much I remember they were just getting drunk and laughing with each other. They were all just so happy to be there together. And that really stuck with me because all these other weddings, it seemed like everything needed to be perfect. But this one just needed to be real. Like, it was never about making it perfect for them. It was just about making it memorable. And I think those guys jumping in the pond sure made it memorable for everybody. So yeah, I think I learned an interesting lesson that day and wanted to share it with you guys. So I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.